If the reports are true that RFK Jr. is going to somehow ban Big Pharma advertisements on television, when the gravy train of Big Pharma ad dollars to TV networks stops, we will suddenly see reporting on the corruption of Big Pharma, of these drugs that don't do what they claim that they do, on vaccines, and even the harm that comes from some vaccines. Even Roger Ailes, by the way, once admitted that he didn't let his people on Fox report negatively on Big Pharma because it would destroy their bottom line. If the reports are true, and I pray that they are, if RFK Jr. is somehow going to ban Big Pharma ads on television, the double revolution of Big Pharma and the mainstream media is about to begin. I can't wait.
There's no doubt that JFK is shot from the front. His head snaps like this. You can have every physicist in the world in and come up with an explanation, which showing the Zapruder film real time would have been disastrous to the Warren Commission. So it was held back. And what you had was Life magazine controlling it. And what you had eventually, insanely enough, decades down the road, is the U.S. government paying the Zapruder family a horrible amount of money and still keeping it out of circulation.
Dear Trump haters, sorry to inform you, but in 1866, the Supreme Court ruling in the case of the state of Mississippi versus President Johnson, the court ruled that the courts cannot enjoin the president in the exercise of his official duties. Article 2, if the U.S. Constitution, which outlines the power and responsibilities of the executive branch, does not grant district court judges the authority to issue injunctions against presidents. Period.
Imagine Trump goes to Putin and says, let's end the war in Ukraine. Putin says, okay, deal. I want you to get your special forces and weapons out of the country. And Trump says, fine, the war is over. And then they load up the plane takes off, and then a lower court judge says, turn that plane around and bring the weapons back.
Well, I mean, that was
who would ever negotiate with the president of the United States again?
Right, of course.
Editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
Ms. Marr, the federal funding that your outlet receives comes from all American taxpayer dollars, not just from your viewers who support such statements as these. Let me inform you, and that your federal funding is also paid for by the other half of the country, the 77 million Americans who voted for President Trump.
A few years ago, NPR educated America about, quote, the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of tax dollars?
I was not at NPR at the time, sir.
That's not the question, though. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I think our tax dollars that we use are to be able to provide a wide range of
I'll take that as a yes. You do believe that that's appropriate. Do you think that basic accommodations like doorways or seat belts represent, quote, latent fat phobia?
I don't have an opinion.
It's also from NPR. You tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book, but...
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
Do you think civility is racist?
No, sir.
No. Your outlet ran an article entitled, quote, When Civility is Used as a Cudgel Against People of Color. That was on All Things Considered. Would you like to explain?
I'm not on the editorial side, sir. I'm not familiar with that story.
You talk about how NPR is news. This is editorialization. Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experience.
Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Ms. Marr, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
You're not. That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. This is garbage. I'll spend all of my time doing everything I can to ensure you guys never get another dollar of taxpayer funding. This is complete garbage. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
Was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just don't have, we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased.
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
Ms. Marr, the federal funding that your outlet receives comes from all American taxpayer dollars, not just from your viewers who support such statements as these. Let me inform you, and that your federal funding is also paid for by the other half of the country, the 77 million Americans who voted for President Trump.
Representative, another story that relates to the media today. Have you seen the new information revealed by The Atlantic magazine about the signal texts?
We're talking about NPR and PBS, not The Atlantic.
But do you believe that this was classified information that was shared on that group?
No, the administration has said it is not classified information. I think this is a continuance of someone like you to try to push an issue that isn't even relevant, and I think that we're carrying on. Thank you.
Detail of timings and weapons, is that not classified information?
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Should the Defense Secretary...
What country are you? Wait, what country are you from?
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay,
And you no. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care about American lives?
No. Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about
by migrants. No, do you care? Okay, you're done. We're talking about NPR and PBS today. We're talking about fake news that was funded with federal funding from American taxpayers. That's what this is about today, not journalists from the UK that care about their own.
The Atlantic publishes alleged signal messages, then in the same breath claims those messages contain classified information. Wait, did they just admit to publishing classified material? Of course not, because it wasn't classified in the first place. These people think you're stupid. They really do. The absurdity is breathtaking. If the messages were actually the grave national security threat they claim, publishing them would be a criminal act.
I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one, Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down. They're up. Inflation is getting worse. The prices of groceries, gas, eggs.
How should Americans view politicians who take pride in the downfall of an American car company?
I think that's quite sad, but I think Governor Walz unfortunately is living a sad existence after his devastating defeat on November 5th. Reagan. But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter. You should find out. Sean.
What's wrong?
Daddy's going to do crack.
What?
Daddy's going to do crack.
He what?
He's going to do crack.
Are you serious? Daddy!
Sir, would you like to connect to our complimentary high-speed Wi-Fi via Starlink? No.
This is the captain speaking. If you look to your left, you'll see SpaceX launching a rocket.
Hi, I'd like to buy a new family car, preferably the safest one possible. That'd be a Tesla Model Y. What about the second? Tesla Model 3.
Funniest thing I've heard all day. I just saw a post on Twitter saying that Trump should identify as female because it would force the liberals to either accept him as the first female president or admit that gender ideology is absolutely ridiculous. And I think that's genius. How do we pass that idea on to him? And with his sense of humor, he might be down. Come on, Trump, come on. It would be such a power move.
And as the Tesla completely peaceful terrorism heats up in an effort to protest Elon being from Africa, claims of the protesters being paid have been swirling around. To debunk these claims, take a look at this footage of a protester outside of a Tesla dealership admitting it.
Yeah, I get paid to be out here.
You get paid to be out here?
Yeah.
Amazing. This is some pack.
You really are getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely. 100% I'm getting paid for this.
I think it's important that whenever we talk about Jasmine Crockett to really say what this is all about. She's stupid. Now, I know people don't want to do that. They want to talk about other things, and they're afraid that because she's black and she's a woman, that if you call her stupid, that you're suggesting she's stupid because she's black or she's a woman. No, she's stupid. Profoundly stupid. I mean, knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing, stupid.